As the war entered its fourth week, it seemed on the verge of a dangerous new phase. Donald Trump vowing to attack Iran's power plants within 48 hours if it didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran promising its own blitz in response on critical facilities around the Gulf.
The strategy, to the extent that we can tell what it is based on his statements, seems to be one of vertical escalation, so cranking up the pressure on Iran in and around the Straits of Hormuz and in Iran itself until the regime cracks and starts to negotiate or drops any blockage to the Strait of Hormuz.
But hours before the deadline passed, the president backed down, announcing a 5-day postponement after what he described as constructive conversations with Iran.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too.
The one thing I think to note about President Trump is he does a lot of deadlines and then shifts them quite often. I would not think that this 5-day new deadline is rock solid.
Iran quickly rejected the president's claims as fake news.
We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other.
President Trump maintained there were talks between the US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Iran.
I think we do know that through Turkey, potentially Qatar, that there are discussions that go through mediators between the two countries. And if that's the case, hopefully that can expand to direct talks.
Pakistan has also reportedly offered to host talks between the sides.
I think Pakistan might be a good option because a lot of the other options, quite frankly, are fully engaged in this combat, right? If the United States can say, we will stop the fighting, we will stop attacking you, we will stop taking out your key leaders. And so it has to be Israel too, because I don't think they'll be willing to negotiate half of this. But the United States has major influence over Israel. I think we can get there.
Oil prices dropped by 11% after President Trump's announcement, prompting Iran to accuse him of manipulating the market.
Certainly, it will not be missed on those who believe that that may be the case, that the president backtracked a bit just before the market opening today and provided a new deadline that conveniently comes right at market closing on Friday. And so I do think that President Trump is trying to play this a bit, trying to manage the economic fallout. And I suspect that part of it is being quite aware of when the markets open and close and timing announcements.
Iran's response to any US strikes would have had grave consequences, the regime threatening to lay sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
In the sort of Hollywood version of sea mines, it's a floating brown, spherical object with spikes on it, and if you run into it, it blows your ship up. Modern sea mines are much, much more sophisticated than that. They can target a particular signature, like an acoustic or magnetic signature of a ship. They can be moored on the bottom and rise very quickly when they detect that signature or on command. The threat of fully closing the Strait of Hormuz using mines is perhaps one of the most severe nightmare scenarios that people are talking about.
According to the president, further escalation is still not off the table if Iran refuses to reopen the strait.
I think the most likely possibility is that we're in for a protracted period of perhaps a month or more where the US and the Israelis crank up the pressure on the Iranians trying to get the regime to collapse.
We'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.